Now we're live. Hello. Check one, two, check one, two. I hope everyone who is online with me can hear me tonight. The voice is audible. Hello, testing one, two. Can someone raise your hands if it is audible, and we'll just go ahead. Great. Thank you, Lisa Tab Kent, for telling us that it's audible. Wonderful. So tonight we'll be talking about this as a tribute to Charlie Kirk, and Charlie Kirk was assassinated on the 11th of September, which is about almost more than a week ago, or it's about like just a little bit more than a week ago. He was assassinated in whole view of the whole world, and that was really unfortunate. And he was at the University of in the Utah Valley University on 11th of September, when he was having that interaction with students or anyone in that campus, and just debating around with people on the campus. He got shot, and instantly he lost his life. And people say that he lost his life without him realizing that he was going to die, because he lost his consciousness and he died without having to go through even slight pain. So people sometimes say that that is a blessing, because to die, people normally go through a lot of pain from sickness or from the wounds that we get injured sometimes. So people say that that's fortunate and that's a blessing, that he didn't have to realize and he didn't have to think about anything. Just in the fraction of a second, he got shot and he lost consciousness and he died in a few minutes. I think, a lot of people who were with him were saying that Charlie was so big that they were not able to carry him inside the car. He was so... What happened? So when you think about the speak and are not able to put across their own argument. When you lose a debate, when you lose your argument, to stop being has been laid to rest. And then somebody commented there were a lot of politicians, top politicians, starting the life of Jesus and the faith. Everything revolved around the life of Jesus and the message of Jesus. Speak about the truth of God, rather more than the pastors, more than the Christian leaders, more than the religious leaders. And I thought it for a while, and I found it really true. Listen to Marco Rubio. Marco Rubio is the Secretary of the State of the United States of America. He came and gave a speech of the whole gospel of the salvation, the good news, the message of Christ. That people, sin separated human beings from God, and that's why Christ needed to come and die for people, so that through his crucifixion, through the death on his cross, people can really reconcile with God. And that's how Christ will come again and he will take everyone who believes in him, and build a new earth, and in that new heaven. And he remarked that we're going to see Christians that, okay, what is your responsibility? What is your role if you're a believer as a believer? So that's one thing we can look at. So before we start talking about all of this, I would like to just quickly take us back to the life of Charlie, how he started. Okay, so there was an internet problem. That's where we live, so we will repeat again. So that's how Charlie got shot. That on in the early morning of September 11th. Of course, that it was daytime. It was noontime in the United States. So that's how he got shot. So Charlie was born. I hope I'm audible now. Hello, test. I hope you can hear me. Hello, hello. Saying that Charlie was born on the 14th of October 1993. So he was just 31 years old when he got shot, when he got assassinated by a young man of 22 years known as Robin Tyler. So Robin Tyler has been living with a transgender has been living with a transgender girlfriend, and he's from of course his family is a Republican, as per the report that we get. His family is from the Republican. His parents are Republican, but lately he started rebelling against their parents and started talking about how much he hated Charlie and how much he hated his messages in the universities and campuses. So that's how it all began. And he started living with a transgender girlfriend, and that's how it all began. And he had already a plan to assassinate or to eliminate Charlie once and for all. So that's what happened. So Charlie was 31 years old when he got assassinated. He was just Probably he was younger than all of us, or almost all of us. And who is Charlie? So he was born in Illinois to a moderate Republican parents, and that Republican mom was a trader, and she was a counselor, and Charlie was strongly influenced by Eagles Squad, and also he was strongly influenced by capitalist economists from the U.S. And he's a capitalist, and he was also an economist by the name Milton Friedman. Milton Friedman is a strong proponent of capitalism as an economist. So Milton Friedman influenced him so much when it comes to his forming his economic points of view as far as the United States is concerned. So that's how he got influenced, and he was also said to be influenced by Rush Limbaugh. Rush Limbaugh is a podcaster or some sort of a radio announcer where he would air his views on the politics and the social problems of the United States of America. And he is a strong conservative, a strong right-leaning political commentator, Rush Limbaugh. So Rush Limbaugh really influenced Charlie in many ways. That's what we got. And one very typical thing or unique characteristic of Charlie Kirk was that when he was young, he dropped out of a community college after the first semester, and he founded Turning Point USA. Charlie never went to university. He attended community college once, but after first semester he dropped out. He never went to university, and that's how but it seems to me like he is a reader. He reads books after books, and he loves philosophy, he loves politics, he loves social theories and all of that informations. I think it looks like he has read more than people who have gone to college as well. So as someone who didn't go to college, he'll put more effort in preparing himself, in acquiring knowledge. So here is what Ben Carson said yesterday about Charlie. Since Charlie does not go to college, so Ben Carson mentioned this, and I kind of liked it. So Ben Carson said that Ben Carson was the former U.S. presidential candidate. He said, "Some say Charlie Kirk was ignorant because he did not have a college degree. But he said, I have seen him run circles around people with college degrees." So he means to say that people accuse Charlie of being ignorant because since he didn't go to college, but in reality he has really bullied a lot of people with his knowledge. People who spend a lot of money and spend a lot of years going to college, Charlie has bullied them with with the knowledge, richness of his knowledge that he had. So it was meant to be a compliment, and Ben Carson really complimented him that way, and that's something quite impressive as someone who didn't go to college, but he could just dominate the debate on any topic. That was quite impressive. So it also raises a question, is college really necessary? Because Charlie would always say that college is a scam, university is a scam, because without necessarily going to those colleges, you can read all of the books, you can read all of those studies, books, and you can acquire all those knowledge. You don't have to go to college to get all those knowledge. That's his message. Whether I agree with it or I don't agree with it, that's a different question. And also one really, really impressive thing about this guy is that he has he's quite conversant in all sort of topics, whether it's science, whether it's politics, whether it's religion, whether it's social problems or any sort of philosophical issues, philosophical thoughts. He is ever ready to talk about all of these things. And he's someone who seemed to be open to read any sort of books. He does not necessarily stick to the books or the ideology that he favors. He would not read just those books. So those are really, really wonderful things and very impressive things that we can really learn from a person like Charlie. And since he dropped out of a community college, and he founded Turning Point USA in 2012, and that time I was doing my master's. I was doing my master degree. So yes, but he already founded Turning Point USA. That was such an impressive action, such an impressive initiative that he did. And he started He started Turning Point USA with just $50,000. He borrowed that money as a seed money, and later on, what he did with that was by at least this year, um, he's able to his annual income of the Turning Point USA now comes up to about more than $100 million a year. More than $100 million a year. So he started Turning Point USA with just borrowing 50,000 rupees, $50,000, and now he's able to make good use of that. He was able to make good use of that, and his organization is able to earn now more than $100 million a year, and that's not easy, and that's not small. So Turning Point USA was not just an organization for him; it was the lifeline. It was the blood. It was the lifeblood of Charlie Kirk. And like I said, it grew from 50,000 US dollar to as a startup to 100 million per year, and that's such an achievement. And a powerhouse that hosted, um, number of rallies for thousands and thousands of youth, and convincing the youth to vote for the party that he favored, the party that he thought was the right party to rescue the United States. So it showcases actually his genius for media, and his genius in mobilization young people, and his genius in defending the Judeo-Christian values. And he believed that Western civilization is on the verge of extinction, on the verge of collapse because of the multiculturalism, because of the extreme left and the woke ideology that does not believe in the Western civilization that was founded on the basis of the Judeo-Christian values. That has been his message. And he would directly go to normally liberal dominant campuses. Like liberals are totally mad at Charlie. And he would advocate ideas like the free markets, the limited government, and America First agenda, and so on. So Charlie was a capitalist for sure. He's not a socialist, and he's not a communist. He was a socialist. Charlie was a capitalist. He believed in free markets. He believed in limited government. And one thing I agree with him is I also believe in limited government. When we have government that is too powerful, that the government will keep interfering in your personal life as well. What to eat, what not to eat, what to sell, what not to sell. So Charlie believed in very limited form of government, and I also strongly believe in that. And when we don't have a limited government becomes part of your life, and it always infringes your personal liberty, because government exists for the benefits of individuals. So when government violates the rights of individuals, that becomes a concern. And that's one strong point that I really, really like to take away from Charlie. So now the question is, what do I think about Charlie? And when I learned about Charlie, I saw him as someone who loved his own country, who loved his own nation. And he was a strong advocate for free speech. That's where I strongly aligned with Charlie Kirk. Other things is more of like a cultural values, which are not relevant to me as an Indian, as a Naga, and as an Indian here in the context of my society. But when it comes to free speech, when it comes to democratic values like limited government, when it comes to free speech, and those I really, really aligned with this Charlie. And that also gives you some sort of an inspiration that, yes, we need this kind of free speech even in our country, even in our society. So he was also a strong proponent of Western civilization, and a strong proponent of Judeo-Christian values, and also a believer in Christ, a staunch believer in Christ, and also he was such a successful entrepreneur. And it's very difficult to just conclude what really made him successful in a span of few years. It's going to be really interesting to study a person like him to see how he became very, very successful. Because for some people, success takes even 30, 40 years. But this guy made it in a few years' time. That was impressive. And those are the things we can really learn from a person like Charlie. So a young boy who grew up in suburban, not even in the heart of a city, but suburban town, he grew up and he ignited a spark and reached a stadium full of his supporters, full of patriots. So I think that's how he has achieved, how he has really contributed to the United States of America. But the question is, will it benefit us? It's not necessarily going to benefit us, and we're just remembering the kind of person he was, and someone who stood up for his values, someone who stood up for his faith. It's we are reminiscing and trying to see what kind of person Charlie was and what were his convictions. So his strong belief in Christ, his strong belief in Christianity and the message of Christ made him decide to work for the United States of America, to protect his country, to save his country from all of this woke and left ideology. He is a strong enemy of the woke ideology. So what can we learn from him? There are many things we can learn from him, and whatever he was defending in the United States is not relevant for us in many ways. But one specific thing that I wanna reiterate is his defense for free speech is something we should also be doing the same thing, and we can look up to him as someone who can guide us on that. We all should be defending the freedom of speech, and freedom of speech doesn't come. I mean, it does not mean you can say whatever you want to say, but you have to take the responsibility of whatever you say. You have to be responsible with the facts, with the truths. And if you don't say the facts, you can't say things casually for the sake of freedom of speech. But since freedom of speech is so sacred that it becomes our right, so sacred that you have to be really, really responsible when you use that. And the United States First Amendment strongly guaranteed them this right for them to exercise. And also we can really think about, can we learn to love our nation like he did? Loving our nation, I'm by citizenship, I'm an Indian. So can we also love our nation as much as he did? It also depends on a lot of things, whether you will be able to love your own country like he did. There was a tweet made by Charlie about Indians. So you know what he said? He said, America does not need more visas for people from India. Perhaps no form of legal immigration has so displaced American workers as those from India. So he was strongly against Indian immigrants. So he said, enough already. We are full. Let's finally put our own people first. And there were some news agencies that were running this code, this statement from Charlie after he died. And I could see a lot of Indians in the comment section saying that Charlie was right. Although I am Indian, I would say the same thing for my own nation. I would say the same thing for my own country. So a lot of people accused him that he doesn't like the Indians to come to United States. Of course, it is his right. It is his right to defend his country. It is his right to save his own country. That doesn't mean when he doesn't welcome the Indians doesn't mean he hate you and I. I don't believe in that, because I would also say the same thing. When a lot of people had to migrate to Assam, we were also as Northeasterners voicing out why this mass immigration has to stop, because the nation itself is overpopulated, and we do not need more people in India as well, because we're not able to control our own population. And what's the point of importing more and more people in a state like Assam, through Bangladesh, through Myanmar, and all of that, right? Even Manipur was burning because of immigration. One of the main reasons was due to immigration, illegal immigration. So whether it's legal or whether it's illegal, there has to be some point of saturation. There has to be some point of limit. And although Charlie does not welcome Indians at all, I agree with him, because I would do the same thing for my own country. I would do the same thing for my own nation. So as a Naga, I'm sure a lot of people watching this live are also Naga, who may not really like the idea of India. That's fine. I mean, it's up to your choice. But also, if you are a Naga, we even don't like um, illegal immigrants coming to Nagaland, to Dimapur. So a lot of Nagas have been voicing out that if they come, they will overpopulate and they would take over the they would exceed the population, and we will become minority. The local indigenous people like us will become minority. I believe that that was the same concern Charlie was expressing. And I don't even believe the idea of mass immigration, because immigration is the root cause of lots of problems that's going on around the world. Europe, and also typical examples, London and the England, United Kingdom is flooded with illegal immigrants, and the country has been in chaos for a long time. Sweden, for example, Ireland, too many illegal immigrants that it has become really, really chaotic. So the idea of multiculturalism does not seem to be serving a good purpose anymore, because you are seeing nothing but chaos in every single country who have accepted mass immigration. And that's something you seriously need to think about. We seriously need to think about it. I don't think anyone is just dying to come to India as well. Of course, just a few from Bangladesh, for example, from Pakistan, who are Hindus. But other than that, I don't think there are people who are dying to just come to India. So that kind of defending for ourselves, that's why it's not a hot topic for Indians to discuss. And India does not also welcome much of a refugee or immigrants. India is more of like, we just want to be ourselves because we have enough people. We don't need laborers. We don't need a lot of things. We just need your investment. Just invest your money in India and we'll do the work. And then that has been the economic policy of India. That has been the diplomacy of India. We don't need laborers in India. We have enough laborers. Rather come and take our laborers. That's what India has been doing. So that's why in the south, down south in Kerala, you will see lots of NRIs, especially lots of people from Kerala, people from Tamil Nadu working in Qatar, in Dubai, and sending remittances back to India, and that also strengthens Indian economy beautifully. So that has been the policy, and if you're a Naga, you don't definitely like this illegal immigration. You don't like the non-functional ILB. We need ILB. We need it. We need that to ILB to check not just illegal immigration. We need even legal immigration. We need ILB to check legal immigration, because people are worried that the locals can just become a minority if this is not checked. Because indigenous people, locals, indigenous local people are vulnerable in that sense. So that's what's been going on, and that was the message of Charlie as well. And there are a lot of things that we can take away from him. And one reason why people don't like him is he's very, very expressive, and he told the truth as it is. He told it as it is, and he did not just sugarcoat his words. He does not sugarcoat his statement, and he does not try to sound he did not try to sound politically correct as well. And that sometimes does not land in people's ear well. And that's why people got really, really pissed with him in many ways. Because, of course, he spoke a lot of truth, but it's the listener who could not tolerate. So the question comes to, then whose fault it is? So we need to understand we live in a democratic society, and as long as someone is not defaming you, as long as someone is not resorting or instigating people to commit violence, we should be able to freely talk. And I strongly believe in that. So what can we take away from the life of Charlie? And what can we not take away? We as Indians, we definitely cannot take away America First policy, because that's not really, really relevant to us. But I think some of the things that we can really think about is, it's just impressive that he didn't go to college, he didn't go to university, but he kind of outsmarted a lot of people in the discussion, in the debates on every literal topic. So that was impressive. So that really makes me think, then is college a necessity? Is university a necessity? Should one be encouraged to go to college and university to acquire knowledge? So is university and is college the only place where you can acquire knowledge? So I kind of started thinking that that's not necessarily true. As long as you can access online articles, online materials, as long as you can access books from libraries, books from the market, come on, you can read it up and you can quite get yourself acquainted with different types of philosophical ideas. Books on economics, books on politics, books on sociology, books on psychology, books on science. So I think the bottom line is that it comes down to how much effort you put to read up and how much effort you put for yourself to acquire knowledge. And Charlie was that. That was quite impressive. And it's somehow embarrassing that a kid who did not go to college, outsmarted everyone in the university. That was just beautiful. And I strongly wanted to commend him on that. And how do we think then? How do we do? We can also learn something from there. You may go to college, fine. I wouldn't discourage you not to go to college because Charlie thought that college and university are a scam. But I may not necessarily agree with that. Still, even if you're attending college, even if you're going to university, don't just try to pass exam. Don't try to just graduate. Read and acquire as much knowledge as you can. And use your college as a place for you to have interaction and debate with people around. And use your college and university as a source for you to read up more books from the library, because from the university, from the college, you get the best books from the libraries. So we can take away this one thing from Charlie. And I came across one time Charlie saying that he used to grapple with porn addiction. And that is quite relevant to a lot of young people today. And not just young people. Whoever has phone, a lot of people are struggling with that. And as someone who really believes that it's a very destructive thing, that's something we all can learn as well. Because it's not a great idea. And he was quite transparent about his personal life. He was quite transparent about how he struggled and how he overcame. I think there's something so much to admire this guy. And also, I came across somebody saying that when Charlie started the Turning Point USA, he made a remark that the left and the Democrats may have all the resources and fundings. I'm not afraid. But what I will do is I will outwork them. I will work harder than them, that even we don't have enough resources, enough fund, we will get better results than them. We will grow stronger than them. We'll grow faster than them. That's how he promised. And now I think that really turned out to be true. That's one thing, it's not about Republican or Democrats. It's not about, for us, for Indians like us, it's not about the left or the right for now. It's about, all right, the beauty of hard work, the dignity of hard work. It's quite important. So in the beginning statement, I made a remark that I really do not know yet how this guy became so successful within a few span of years. He became so successful. He started with $50,000 and he turned his company and now making $100 million a year. How he became so successful? I think one thing I learned about him is his hard work, because he depends on hard work, not on the privilege that he came from a middle class family, a very moderate middle class and humble family from Illinois. But I think he got some inspiration from somewhere that I need to really work hard to outsmart the left people, So that's how he started the movement, and that's beautiful. We can learn from such ideals and values from him. And he's someone who loved his family. So I would just project, Charlie's famous quote. And this is the famous quotation that Charlie made, a statement that Charlie made. I want to just share with you and just read this once. He said, "Get married, have children, build a legacy, pass down your values, pursue the eternal, seek true joy." I think all of his life revolved around these sayings, these values. And, get married. He has a beautiful wife. He had a beautiful wife. He had 2 children. And he had built a legacy. Like Turning Point US is such a huge movement for youngsters. And no one has ever done that in the United States with the youth. He was the first person to have done that. And pass down your values. And his literally passing down his values on to the coming generation. Pursue the eternal. His faith in God, his faith in Christ. He was pursuing the eternal kingdom, eternal life, the whole of this time, and seek true joy. So you would hardly see Charlie in every video, in every conversation. You would hardly see Charlie looking so sad and gloomy. He would be like just so jolly and full of energy, smiling, be happy, happy to have all this conversation. So those are really, really beautiful things, and beautiful values that we can also adopt by looking at a man like Charlie. Those are some few of the things that I would like to mention, and it is ideology neutral. It has nothing to do with politics. It's about just personal growth. Get married and have children and build a legacy and pass down your values to the generations to come, and pursue the eternal. Where will you be after you die? And seek true joy and be happy. Just make life meaningful when you are alive. And those are the beautiful message that Charlie has been conveying to the people across the globe, and I really, really liked it. So before we just conclude, we can and of course a few more points which I missed out. And he loved his own people, and that's one of the best thing we can do as human beings. Loving our own people, loving our own nation, loving our own community is something we should strive forward. Hard work, like I mentioned, and loving God. So I think without all of this, without loving God, life is going to be difficult, because you are going to live in sin, a sinful life. So the better, the earlier the better it is when you cut off yourself from sinful life and live a life that is obedient to God, and that is presentable to God, acceptable to God. And that's where joy, peace, happiness, and all of that comes. And that's something you cannot buy with money. And also one question is, was Charlie an extremist? So I once thought that Charlie was a right-wing radical, right-wing extremist. But when I started looking at his life, looking at his messages, looking at his intent to have a conversation, extremist people don't do that. What does the extremists do? What they do is they silence people. They don't want to talk. They have no room for conversation. They have no room for dialogue. They have no room for debate. They kill people. They eliminate people. That's extremism. Those are the characteristics of extremism. But what all Charlie did was just wanting to talk to people, wanting to debate with people, and just without any violence, without any physical confrontation. I think that was beautiful. I have to acknowledge that. And the final question is then, what happened to Charlie? Was he too unlucky? Was he too unfortunate as a human being? People think that, wow, what a pity that he had to die at 31 years old. Of course, that's human perspective. But what actually matters is he was not lucky. I mean, we all think that he was not lucky. But I don't think that when you start thinking about it from different angles, different perspective, he was not unfortunate, And also, of course, he was not fortunate either. It was just as it is. So imagine 50 years from now, I believe 95% of us watching this video, joining me live, will not be here on Earth. It was just that Charlie had to go ahead, had to leave a little earlier than all of us. So that's it. It's not about very lucky or very unlucky or fortunate or unfortunate. But what's important is, when you're alive, what have you contributed to the people? What have you contributed to the society? And that matters. And how much have you loved people? And that also matters. And he's an American nationalist. Charlie was an American nationalist, and that is not always good for people who are not American, of course. But the point is he a threat to people who want to just stay in their other country? He may not necessarily be. So you have also the choice and freedom to love your own country like he did. So I think it's a wonderful thing to think about. Like, you can love your own country, and you can love your own community, you can love your own people, you can vouch for the values of your community, the values of your faith, you can defend all of that. And those are some of the things that we can also think about assessing from the life of Charlie. So I think these are some of the thoughts that I have had, and I can see that nowadays different people have different opinion about Charlie, and that's beautiful in a way. No human should be approved by 100%. Even Jesus himself was not approved, not just approved by people alone. He was literally killed at last. But he didn't do anything wrong. All he did was he confronted people with truth. So the idea and the notion that people hate you because you are a bad person is not true. Sometimes people hate you because sometimes you speak the truth. People hate you because sometimes you're courageous. People hate you because you are powerful. People hate you because you are capable. So when you study more people, when you study the incidents that are happening around the world, you realize that sometimes even if you don't do anything wrong, people will hate you for what you're doing, for the capability that you have, for the property that you have, for the beautiful face that you have, for the beautiful figure, beautiful hair that you have. So and people will sometimes hate you for your intelligence. So the point is that we cannot conclude that people really hated Charlie because he was wrong. It's not necessarily that way. People hated him because he was bold, he was courageous, and he didn't hold back anything in his life. He spoke he spoke his convictions, and he lived his convictions. And that really, really matters in our life. But also, did he confront anyone physically? He did not. And that's the beautiful thing about him. And we are not animals, and we are not prehistoric people. We are educated, we are living in a civilized world, and I think the most important thing is being able to have conversation with each other despite your differences, in spite of all the differences that you have, disagreements that you have. We should strive towards being able to have conversation with each other. And without doing that, I'm sorry, goodbye. So these are some of the few things that we can really reflect and, look at Charlie. So I think this has been wonderful. And on the last point, but not the least, that I want to make is, people can speak about God, people can do anything, people can speak beautiful things, but action is what matters. And this morning when I woke up, when I heard about his wife saying, "This young man who assassinated my husband, this young man, with a quivering lips, she said, I forgive him." That took away all my doubts. That took away all my, all my doubts about whether they were really true Christians, whether they were really good people. Because how can you forgive someone who assassinated your loved one? How would you be able to forgive? It's unforgivable. It's inexcusable. But his wife said, "That young man, I forgive him." And some people did not like it because it was too difficult for them to accept that. Revenge is what human beings want. But Charlie's wife was so Christ-like, I would say. Charlie's wife was so modest that she said, "I forgive this man." That's a beautiful statement. And that's what Christ taught us, I believe. To forgive people, to forgive the unforgivable, to love the unlovable. So those are the messages that prove that they really, really believed in the work of Christ. They really are a followers of Christ. When you look at it, you can't even forgive your neighbor who has been dumping their garbage near your house. And that's so petty, and that's so little. But Charlie, a father of two and a husband of Erica, was assassinated in cold blood, murder, in front of the whole world, caught on television, caught through mobile videos. He was assassinated, and his wife came out and declared in front of the whole world that I forgave him. I forgive him. Well, I salute Erica for that. Well, I salute her for that. I believe it's the power of God that enabled her to be able to forgive. As human being, that's not possible. Humanly speaking, that's not inhuman. Human beings cannot forgive like that. It's the power of God, it's the power of Christ that enabled her to be able to forgive. And that's beautiful and that's powerful. And if Charlie was extremist, if his wife was extremist, a radical right-wing extremist, I don't think they will ever forgive. But being able to forgive in a time like this is something that really touches you, something that really inspires you. So we are not looking at Charlie as because he's American, because he's white, because he speaks well. We're looking at him because he holds certain values and he preaches certain messages, like the freedom of speech, for instance, like democratic values, like having a conversation with each other without getting violent, without having any physical confrontation. Despite our disagreements, we need to have a conversation, and I strongly believe in that as well. So I aligned Charlie very well on that. And that's something we can strongly take away for our society also, for you and me. So in the university, in your neighborhood, in your society, in your district, in your town, in your state, in your city, we all need to preach the message of freedom of speech and civil debates, civil discussion without confronting physically. We have heard about yesterday a Naga boy from Kaziranga University who was caught by the Assamese students, Assamese youngsters, Assamese youth in Kaziranga University for a comment that he made. And I'm not saying that those Assamese people were wrong to do that. And I'm not also saying that the Naga guy was right. It was his right to say that. It's just like, without resorting to a physical confrontation, how can we sort this out? How can we have a dialogue? And if it disagrees with each other, we can have a debate and convince each other rather than threatening with muscle power that if you still believe that you are right, I'm going to beat you up. I'm going to hit you. I think that's not the world that we want to build. That's not the society that we want to build. That's like you're living in a jungle, right? And you are no different from animals that do not use their brains. We're human beings created differently, with the power to think, with the capability to reason for ourselves. And I believe that's the only thing that we should practice. That should be the only, that we should really focus on that and even promote that. So I'm not wishing and praying that something tragic happened to us so that we're also able to forgive. We may not be able to forgive because it's very, very hard to forgive. And like I said, you cannot forgive your neighbor who parks their vehicle wrongly outside your house. You cannot forgive that and cannot forgive that. And how can we forgive somebody who has assassinated our loved one from our family, for instance? So a huge credit should go to Charlie's wife for being able to do that. A lot of people will throw this kind of crappy words that it's just acting, it's just nothing, she's good at acting, whatever. I don't care. But being able to say that I forgive this young man who shot and who murdered my husband, wow, that's such a powerful statement. And I hope we are also able to forgive people around us, people who do wrong things to us. We should also be able to forgive people who have wronged us in the past and in the present, and maybe in the future. For that, may God give strength to all of us and live the life that is forgiving rather than revengeful. I think those are all these beautiful things that we can take away from Charlie. We're not glorifying Charlie as a perfect man. We don't care who he was, how he lived his life, but the kind of message that he preached, and the type of forgiveness that his wife brought is wow. It's just like so powerful, and that proves a lot of things about them, and that kind of disproves all their enemies, all their haters. So in life, I think you need to keep forgiving people. We need to keep forgiving people. Those are beautiful things that we can learn from them. So with this, I will end, and I really appreciate all of you for joining in this a tribute to Charlie. And I'm just reading some of your comments as well. Erica Sanji wrote, Erica is one of a kind. Correct. I agree with you. PLOG blog. More than a political activist, Charlie Kirk's main mission was preaching the gospel. His ideas and principles are all grounded in biblical teachings. That's true. And I was thinking once, was Charlie a Christian martyr or a political martyr? When I look at it, he was a Christian martyr. And I can see that there are many, many churches who don't bother to mention and pray for him, for his family and so on. Because since he involved in politics as well, people, church leaders, especially in Lungleng, are scared that people might just complain because he is a political activist as well. But his values are all Christian values. And he strongly preached about Christ. He strongly preached about the biblical values. And I believe he is also a Christian martyr. And in that sense, as a church, I think it's good for our fellow Christians to pray for each other. If we can pray for the persecution in Iran and for the persecution of Christians in, for instance, Iraq and Afghanistan, why cannot we pray for assassination of a Christian brother, a fellow believer in the United States? Why can't we express just regret that it's very sad to see something like this happen to a Christian fellow? Maybe, like I said in the beginning remark, our church leaders and our Christian leaders have become so chicken-hearted that they want to sound politically correct. And that will destroy all of us. We need more boldness in the church. People need to be bold. Christian leaders need to be bold and stand up for what is right, stand up for the truth. That way, I think we can defend our Christian values. We can defend our faith. Without doing that, we're not going to add any value to the society, to non-believers. And when we defend our Christian faith, it doesn't mean at the expense of other people's joy, at the expense of other people's comfort or convenience. Defending your faith is just you're just defending what you believe. It doesn't necessarily to hurt or harm anyone. We need to be bold in that sense, and especially our church leaders. So there's a few thoughts that were in my mind before I shared this. So here is a comment. If the student knew this person in the past and yet to hurl insult, it's understandable that the Assam is... Okay, that's an Assam Lungleng problem. And Molun Paul Rangbung, he writes, we, the Christians of India, need to really imbibe and practice what we know from the scriptures. Exactly. Mukhabagiba. Sir, like Charlie, I want you to find a sound biblical pastor who would mentor you. I wouldn't mind. That's a good suggestion. PLOG. Charlie Kirk received Christ when he was in the 5th grade, and from that day his prayer was for God to use him for his will. Well, that's good to know. Tolim Jang. Tragic assassination of Charlie Kirk stands out as one of the most unsettling occurrences globally, correct? Our thoughts and prayers are with Charlie's wife and children during his difficulties. Yes. Im Kong Naro Im Song. The nation and the world have lost the best soul in the world. Gone too soon, buddy. May you rest in soul. May your soul rest in peace. So this is all about it. These are some of the values and some of the things that we can take away from Charlie. And by remembering him, that does not mean we're glorifying him as a person. We are worshiping him. It does not mean we are doing that. It's like from any individual who has left a strong impact on a lot of young people, we need to also see what we can learn from him. And if Charlie was such an extremist, such a radical right wing, such a misogynist, such a sexist, and all of these words, then why would people who came in contact with Charlie become a better person, became more law-abiding people, and started to love their parents, started to love going to church, started going to church and started to read the Bible, started to worship God. So with all, a man is known by the fruits, by his or own fruit, by his or her own fruits. A man is known by the fruits that he bears. And when I see the kind of people that Charlie has impacted from various sorts of testimonies, I only saw one thing, that they all became a better person. And extremists don't do that. And radical right-wing people don't do that. It's people who wants to talk to people, who love people, do that. So I think that's a beautiful way of looking at the life of Charlie. Im Kong Narod, the nation and the whole world. Yeah. Lisa Tepkin, what's your view on Black American preacher on last Sunday preaching against Charlie? That's his view. That's all right. He may be a woke pastor, or maybe he has a different theological standing from what Charlie preached. It's okay to preach. It's okay to disagree with each other. But the problem is, when someone dies, you should not point out their mistakes, right? When you go and speak in a funeral, you don't point out their mistakes. You try to recall all the good things that the person has done, and remember him for the good things that he has done. So after Charlie died, if there is anyone or any pastor speaking ill against him, I think that's very unchristian on it for me. So I would just say that way. Oh, sorry. I poured water on my computer. Just a second. Charlie was the most moderate right wing. Lisa Tab, can you please tell us the channel that Black? Yeah, so that's all about it. And I want to thank all of you for joining in this live conversation, and live interaction with you all. Also, a monologue as a tribute to Charlie. And thanks for joining in, and we can all continue to have a conversation. So forget now America, forget now Charlie. What we can take away from is, let's make our society better with some of the values that we can learn from him. Push for free speech, push for debates, push for civil conversations, civil debates, and loving our own community, loving our own people, serving our own community, serving our own community and our own people, and loving our friends and helping people who really need help, and leaving a strong positive impact for youngsters, for young people. I think that those are the things we can take away and make our society better. So forget America, forget Charlie. Let's just take away these values and make our society stronger, make our society grow, make our society better. In that way, we can relate and make our life better. So thanks for joining in, and I'll see you all again in the next live session, and you all have a wonderful rest. Pray for Charlie's wife, and pray for Charlie's two little angels, two little children, so that they don't live a life where they feel that their life has no meaning anymore. But let the presence of God and let the presence of Christ always remind them that there is so much more meaning to live this life, even more. There's so many more work to do in this life. So, in that way, we can help each other. We can help our fellow believers. So thanks for joining, and I'll see you all again. Good night, everyone.